All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to our show. We're back again with another show this week. This week we have a special guest on our show. Very happy to have her here, Miss Katrina Reese, Miss Blessed Empress herself.
Hello, guys. Happy to be here with my two homies.
And as usual, we have my boy Edwin Brown over here, and I'm Terrence Fisher. And we're just talking again today about some of the issues that's going on in our great nation here in the United States. The first thing we're going to talk about is the issue about the Confederate flag. Now, as of the taping of this video, it has been ordered that the flag is going to be taken down and has been taken down as of the taping of this video. So we'll dive into that, talk a little bit about that, and we're also going to discuss the thing that's going on with Bill Cosby that's in the news currently. So stay tuned for that. But as of now, let's talk about this Confederate flag. So, Trina, you and I today, we saw a young man with a Confederate flag that was tattooed on his neck.
Yeah, he was tatted up.
Yeah, he was tatted up. Now, he didn't appear to be, racist or anything up, just casually. It didn't seem, he seemed very friendly. He didn't seem like a racist or anything. So that begs the question, like this whole flag issue. So we're taking this flag thing as a big race issue. So what do you guys feel about that? I mean, is it a big race thing, or, how should we be looking at it?
I think it's hard to kind of gauge it. You can't make assumptions from what someone really means by waving that flag or having it in their home or outside their home or in their car or tattoo. You can't really gauge unless you know that person. But personally, I just feel like it is a statement to some degree of racism. Not necessarily I hate blacks or anything like that, but for what it stood for, that it has a meaning, a deeper meaning than what people may display on in an individual basis. So, like I mentioned, there was this situation where a friend of mine had a tablet they were scribbling on in school, and I didn't recognize the symbol that they were scribbling on their pad, and then my teacher went over to him and saw that what he was scribbling on his pad, and she snatched it up real quick, says, "Don't you ever draw this again, don't ever draw this again." And later on in my education, I learned that that symbol was a swastika, and I learned later that she was Jewish, and for her, that symbol meant something that was negative. It had a deep meaning. For African Americans, we see that flag as a representation of slavery, or the fight that ensued behind the Civil War, where the South didn't want to lose all of their economy by freeing the slaves. So that's kind of where we look at it. A lot of I'll say it as a whole, or every individual has their own feelings about it, but as a whole, I think it may have some racial connotations to it, but you just basically have to know who the individual is who's displaying that flag to really know where they're coming from.
Well, as time has evolved, we have constantly attached it to slavery. But initially, when they first had the flag, slavery was not the first issue for the start of the Civil War. Now, sure, slavery had something to do with the Civil War, but that wasn't the end-all, be-all for the fight. So they do look at it as heritage. And who are we to say that they are not showing some homage to their heritage?
Absolutely. And then the other part about it is how far this has gone. We talked about Amazon.com has taken a lot of their stuff with the Confederate flag off their site. They talked about the show Dukes of Hazzard, that had the Confederate flag on top of the
Bo
car.
and Luke.
Bo and Luke.
Bo and Luke.
Bo and Luke did. But them being taken off the air, the Walmart thing. So you've had John Snyder, the guy who played Bo in the Dukes of Hazzard. He's come out and started making some videos talking about how silly the idea is, because basically what he said was that, the show Dukes of Hazzard the reason they put the flag on the car wasn't a racist thing. It was a fad. It was more of a fad. It was a thing that the people of the time were doing, just like we have our fads now. We talked about, you remember when we were in high school, the thing was to, put those bra covers on the top of your hood and those light covers and, like eyebrow things looking on it. Like that was the thing. for people to put on their cars. And during the time where this show was, in the 60s and 70s and the 80s, it was just a fad of, certain cultures of people that would use that flag and put it on their cars. And I'm sure it's still that to some people today. So to put that in the context of now, to say it's racist to have the show like Dukes of Hazzard on TV I believe is just taking it a little bit too far. So, I mean, but I do understand. I understand that there's the racist connotation to this and what it symbolizes and what it means. I think it shouldn't have taken, the issue that brought this up with the young man who killed the people in the church. I don't think it should have taken that to get our attention about this particular thing. And, my thing is I say let's be fair across the board. So if we're going to do that, if we're going to take the flag down because it represents racism, let's do everything like that.
Right.
Or at least look at everything objectively like that. So
this black power, is that racist?
Yes, it is.
So black power is racist? Because
Yes, it
if
is.
they say white power, well, But
that's
I
a
was
good point.
Do I care? What about brown power? That's racist too? Or is that not just empowering my people? Or I'm not just saying, hey,
Well,
I want to support. I'm not down in any other race. I'm just uplifting my own.
I think where that comes from, though, and I completely agree with you. I think where it comes from, where we have taken a stance as African Americans on a different, and say that our situation is different. We've taken it from because we have been oppressed for so long. So things like, we talked about historically black colleges, things like that. And Edwin brought up a good point the last time we talked about maybe even getting rid of BET because of things like that. But it's the same thing. The reason we've had those shows, the reason we've had historically black colleges is because black people weren't always,
Yeah, we were held down for too long.
right. We wasn't always allowed to go to school. And
So we
learn stuff
should
like
have
that.
BET.
So, well, I mean, I think
No,
I think we've kind of evolved now.
Yes.
I think we've kind
progressed.
of we've progressed and we've evolved past times, and I think those things are still representative of a time of us trying to come out of oppression. And to some extent, arguably, I guess we still are. I mean, an argument can be made there in any context. I do just think it's time, though, for us to look at all of these things objectively. Like if we're looking at the flag, look at the things like BET, look at the things like, the historically black colleges and stuff like that. Where,
No, don't mess with my HBCUs.
well, I mean, we're all three of us are products of a HBCU,
Right.
so I'm not down on them at all. So I mean, I'm.
And that's a whole nother topic. Like, have HBCUs met their need? Are they no longer necessary? But that's a different topic.
It still ties into this thing with the flag because the secondary underlying issue is when we were going through the 60s, we were trying to get rid of segregation. This is when it popped back up in most of the southern states when segregation happened. In protest, a lot of them flew the Confederate flag.
Right.
Just, I don't know if it was for intimidation purposes or what, but that's usually was the reason why they brought the flag up in the first place. At first, they weren't flying it, but when segregation happened, okay, the Confederate flag is up there. So that kind of gives you, maybe there could be some background of racism with it, because,
No, I don't doubt that it has a direct correlation to racism, no doubt about that. But again, symbols mean something to one person and something another to another.
Right.
But my whole issue is, should we even care? Like, if they don't like black people, so what? If we don't like white people, so what? Now, as a state, we're not looking at it as Christians where we're supposed to love everybody, but just as a state, and we're supposed to have this freedom of speech, and America's the home of the brave and the land of the free and all this other jazz. They still shouldn't be able to float.
Well, I think the reason why we should care, though, and I do understand what you're saying, but a reason to care is because, see, that becomes a sort of an infection in society. So the thing that says, if somebody says, I don't like a certain caliber of people for whatever reasons they may have. I mean, racism is taught in a lot of ways, in most ways, if not always. But I mean, for whatever reasons people may have, that the underlying part of that says that you and I are different.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in some way different than you. And then that takes us off the human level of saying that, we're all human. We're all human beings. So this is an example I use all the time. If I have to create a difference between you and I, or if I say there's a difference between you and I have to create something to make that difference. So what we have created is skin color. So I'm white, you're black, I'm brown, green, whatever the color is. I'm different than you, which means in some way I'm better than you. And we've all taken that stance, and that has been the kind of the result of what we've had in society. So we have a group of people, or groups of people thinking that they're better than somebody else and other people don't deserve this, and it plays out in different ways. So I think that's why we should care about it, not necessarily in terms of the surface level of things like a flag, which I know that's what you're talking about. So not in those terms, but in terms of like us as human beings and us coexisting as a people. I think that that's why we should, care about some things like that.
But don't we think that perhaps it is simply a distraction for the true issues at hand? We have bigger fish to fry than who's flying what flag.
Sure.
It's like
I totally agree.
the police brutality that is, it's gotten to a point we almost becoming immune to it because it's on every week, and so many cases are not even being reported.
Exactly.
So we're just like, oh, another one bites the dust. Oh, another one bites the dust, until it's just, we're numb to it. So are they trying to well, we're gonna appease the black people and remove the flag, while cops are still accosting teens walking down the street, kids at the pool?
Yeah.
Well, it comes full circle, because the reason why a lot of this movement, I'll say, has happened is to prevent some of that deep-set hatred between races, between cops and the civilians.
But is a removal of a flag going to do that?
I say it's a good step in the right direction. Because, with this whole thing about heritage, it means you pass down something from one generation to the next. And what's been passed down from one generation to the next is racism. So if you remove a symbol of racism out of the way, then that's one thing that's out of the way that perpetuates this unrest that we have in our country that seems to be festering now. So
but I think
there is some good behind it.
I would agree with you, but I think you're giving racism as an entity too much intelligence. I don't think racist people or racism as an entity is that intelligent. I don't think people look at this symbol because they're racist and say, yeah, this is me, this is my symbol, this is what symbolizes who I am. I think it's especially the younger generations who've come up past this whole Confederate flag thing. So it's not a thing to where they're using this symbol, or the symbol is in any way perpetuating anything. We wasn't even talking about this before this church thing happened. This wasn't even an issue at all.
The last time we talked about this, we brought that point up. Well, it hasn't been talked about because it hasn't been in the forefront. But people have always had these feelings. It wouldn't have spun out of control like it has if no one felt anything about it. Like I said about the situation with my teacher. Sometimes, in my past, when I've seen that flag, I've always wondered, okay, well, how should I look at this guy? I don't, I can sit and talk with him, but what was he to say when he's at home with his family?
Sure.
So I've always thought something was off when I saw someone with that flag. I always felt uncomfortable, in the conversation with a person after I noticed something on their car that showed, okay, well, I don't know if this is a racist thing or if it's a heritage thing. I think, in my opinion, when you have that many people or that large group of people feeling sensitive about it, then you should have some kind of, something about yourself to say, okay, well, I won't provoke anyone. I won't make them feel uncomfortable. Okay.
I guess that goes to the biblical term that if eating meat in front of my brother offends him,
right.
Not that I won't eat meat,
right.
I just won't eat it in front of him.
Exactly.
So you can have your flag, we just don't need to have it flying at the state capitol.
It should not be, my opinion on that, it should not fly in front of any government building. If you fly it in front of your house, that's your freedom to do that, but in front of a government building,
I can see that.
I see that flag, it's a rebel flag, which means it's a separatist view behind it. If we're in America and we're all supposed to be unified, then that flag represents separation.
Sure.
We don't want separation.
Okay. You got a good point.
All good points, guys. So we, with that being said, I think we're curious to know what you guys think about this as usual. So, about this part of the conversation, please jump down in the comments. Let us know what you feel about the Confederate flag, the removal of it. Was it a good thing? Was it a bad thing? How should it have played out? Things of that nature. Just let us know your thoughts. So let's move on to this, the issue of Bill Cosby.
Okay.
Daw.
That's it. Do it
Daw.
again. The
Jello
pudding
pudding, daw. Man, have y'all seen these memes?
Memes are
though?
just going
Oh
off.
man, they
Going
are
off.
wild. Like that meme where they put him on with the basketball. He's doing that.
Oh, yeah, I
with
got
the
that
pill. Oh man, that is crazy, stupid.
I feel like I shouldn't laugh at it.
I mean, you gotta find some humor in the stuff, man. Those memes are crazy.
It's foul. It's foul.
Yeah, it's messed up. But so that brings, there's been a lot of stuff going on. I don't know if you guys saw the Whoopi Goldberg thing, where she basically on The View, she came out and said some stuff about Bill Cosby in support of him. Basically, well, I wouldn't call it support. What she basically said was that the man is innocent until proven guilty. And that's our system, and that's what she said. She's gotten a lot of backlash because of that, just because a lot of people are getting on social media saying that she's supporting Bill Cosby and his, he's a rapist and all this kind of stuff, whatever the case may be. And then she came back and she made a video on The View, I believe the next day or a couple of days after, when she went off and started telling people y'all need to chill out. Basically what I said was, this man is innocent until proven guilty. But be that as it may, we have an issue now where all of these people are, all of these women are coming out and saying that.
In great number.
In great numbers. Just all of a sudden, none of these people had come out, prior to now. We're talking about in the year of 2015, you're talking about stuff that happened in the 80s. All of them are coming out now and saying that, Bill Cosby did this to me, or he was involved, he offered me drugs, he gave me drugs, for sex and stuff like this. So, what is your overall take on it? As far as him being, innocent or guilty, or what this means for his career and things like that?
Well, I believe he's very seasoned and that the career is over. Okay, it's all right.
Well, he had some things going on though, right before this stuff
Comedy, stand-up.
happened. But he had, I think it was a show or something.
Oh yeah, he did have a show coming out.
Yeah. So
And
All of his syndication has been stopped.
Now,
Yeah.
I have a problem with the syndication being stopped. Why? Because what it represented was still positive, regardless of what the man did.
Agreed.
He was a man acting, and in that acting position, it portrayed African-American families in a positive way. So
Absolutely.
why? I don't want that to just negate all the good that it did simply because of this man's private actions. And I get how the private and the public kind of coincide, but to take that away, what about Felicia? That's my homegirl from H-Town. Love her.
Felicia
And
Rashad,
I would
yeah.
hate for her to lose. She losing money too. And Keisha Knight Pullman.
Pull him.
Pull him.
Pull him.
Pull him on up. And
Pull him on up.
so you're cutting people's checks.
True.
And that it's a generation not getting an opportunity to see a black doctor and a black lawyer raising intelligent children going off to prestigious HBCUs.
That's true, and I just had this conversation with my wife before I came over here, and I asked those same questions, like, well, should we negate all of the good that came out of his career, his life? Well, you weigh that with the evil behind the man. Okay, he's a serial rapist. Allegedly a serial rapist. Yeah, it's fair to say to the group, Whoopi said, we gotta give him due process, just like anyone else. But we know how the media spins things, and everyone has already made their judgment about him. And it's not fair, but at first, my first thought when it all started was like, well, it's already, past the statute of limitations for some of the stuff that has been said, but when the numbers started to grow, it was like, okay, well, what's really going on?
But see, that's what I find fishy. Okay,
You got words you chose there. Carry on.
Fishy. That's right, fishy. Fishy, people, fishy. But no, I do find it very peculiar.
Okay.
Because, 1, 2, 3, 4 maybe women who were subjected to the Bill Cosby thing, in the 80s or the 90s, whenever it happened, they were afraid to come out because of, whatever, just, media and being exposed and all of that kind of stuff. Sure, I'll give it that. But when the numbers start increasing, when they start increasing to, 20 and 30 people that's all of a sudden coming out, women that are coming out and saying that, well, yeah, he did that to me too, and now he said this to me, he did this. Don't y'all find that at least a bit peculiar that it would be happening like that? Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist per se, but you have to look at the the possibility of how false some of this stuff could be.
Well, one thing I'll say here, and on the whole situation about rape, is a lot of women they never come forward when they're raped. A lot of women they don't do it because they're never believed. No one ever believes them initially. They have to prove. So it's always an uphill battle for a woman to say, "Hey, I've been raped by someone."
Because she definitely has the burden of proof.
When these women first started to come out, no one believed them. Everyone was dismissing them at first.
Because it's Bill Cosby.
Exactly. So so it makes sense that they would take a while before, and maybe the first two women gave 3 or 4 of the other women courage to come out and bring out their situation. So it doesn't matter. I mean, rape is rape. It's been done.
Sure, absolutely. So. And you know, this is not to make light of anything that this man has done. Right is right and wrong is wrong according to the law. So, I mean, it's not to make light of the situation. But if we're trying to get to the truth and to the bottom of the situation, I think all of those possibilities have to be looked at.
Well, here's the truth. No, the man said he did, in fact, give women drugs.
Sure.
For the purpose and intent to sleep with them. This is what he said.
Now, but there's also been statements that his wife has said, which I just read before we start shooting this video, is that these women who he did give drugs to were in consent. Like this wasn't like a thing where I think we're all picturing this as him, you know, at the house or something, got some music on, and then he slips a little what we used to call a Spanish fly, Spanish fly back in the day, but Spanish fly in a drink, and then all of a sudden she drinks it and just falls out, and then he takes advantage of her. I think that's the way we're all picturing it in our heads. But if it was a situation of consent, like, hey, I have these, just like people do now with ecstasy drugs, like, it's a consent thing. So what if it was a situation where they're both sitting in the house and saying, hey, I got this drug, it's gonna, we here, it's gonna make our sex good, whatever, and it just so happens to, knock this woman out, and Bill Cosby is a pro because he's been taking it, and it don't knock him out. So, I mean, that it could.
So is it okay to continue to sleep with unconscious women?
No, I wouldn't say that it was, that's not what I'm saying, that it's okay. But at the same time, I don't think that's rape either.
Oh, that's not rape?
Oh, that's rape.
If I'm asleep and I don't know, I need to be awake to what you're saying right now. I can't agree.
I mean, okay. If you're with a friend who's a female and y'all been drinking and you're on your way home and she passes out, or you're gonna say, oh, I guess I'll just jump on this, and then the next morning you consented.
No, but we're talking about sex drugs. You take these drugs with the purpose
of. Not everyone takes
these
drugs for sex.
Heightened enjoyment
sexual
of the
experience.
Sexual experience. If I am unconscious, how can I then enjoy the sexual experience?
I'm not saying you can enjoy it. We're not talking about enjoying it, whether or not it's good. We're talking about whether or not it was rape or not. I mean, no rape is good. I'm not. So, okay, let me back up. Well, y'all hear what I'm not saying. I'm not
Here
saying
we
that
go
it was
with that.
I'm serious. Like, I'm not saying that this was a good thing and that this man is innocent. Due process needs to happen.
Okay.
And we'll see from there. Period. That's what it all comes down to. But since we're talking about the multiple layers of it, I'm exercising the possibility of a lot of other situations that could have happened rather than what we're picturing in our mind, in saying that this guy was just drugging these women, bringing them in left and right and saying, hey, drink this. And they not knowing anything about it. And they just all of a sudden wake up and then they, got blood or something coming down their legs or some crazy mess like that.
You're talking about it in degrees, but the end all be all is that morally speaking, his character is in question.
Sure.
Whether they agree to it or not. So if it was consensual, but he was going out having all this random sex with all these different women with his wife at home, how can he then be painted as this Dr. Heathcliff Huxtable? Again, so that tarnishes the brand, regardless if it was rape or he just was a druggie who loves to get high. That's a problem. Morally speaking, he has tainted his brand, period.
Sure.
So whatever the outcome is, his brand is forever tainted. It
Absolutely.
cannot be unfixed.
But that's
or fixed.
If he's found
undone.
Guilty.
Yeah.
If he's found guilty.
He's already been found guilty in the courts.
Court has said.
Of public opinion, honey.
Yeah, you're right.
Bill Cosby is guilty.
Well, but that's the problem, and then part of what you said is that his image is what we've painted him as.
Right.
And I started this off by saying I've never seen him as I don't see anybody as a saint. So I mean, you know, to me it doesn't negate like what we were originally talking about, the good that he's done
Right.
and stuff as well. And I think we would be remiss not to mention some of that stuff while talking about it. So just the good this man has done, you know, with the show, his philanthropy, everything that he's done in his life, and that and that he still does. I mean, that stuff needs to be brought to light as well, you know, versus all of this negative stuff behind him. I mean, and then we have that whole, you know, he who is without sin cast the first stone type of thing. So I just think we have to be really, really careful when we put somebody in that kind of light
On a pedestal.
on that pedestal and say that, hey man, this is the one, this is the person, this is the man. We should be like him. We should be this. I mean, he is this and he is that. And I think part of the anger that we're experiencing now as a society is a result of that.
But people should still have someone that they can look up to, some goal. Not saying that these people are without flaws, because just being a human causes us to be flawed. We know that. We can look at man after man after man that was deemed great. They all had some type of skeleton. That Jesse Jackson fell from grace. I mean, we know that and I hate to say it because it makes people nervous, but Dr. Martin Luther King, I don't know, Coretta wasn't the only one now.
Absolutely.
Okay, so, and Bill Clinton, these men of great power and position get in position. You know what I'm saying?
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. People of power and positions get in position.
Take that how you want to.
It is absolutely true though. But I mean, at the same time, I don't think that means that it doesn't change that we can still look up to somebody like a Bill Cosby for the good things that he has done. I think that's what we look up to people for anyway, not necessarily all of their, you know, flaws. And even sometime in spite of them, we can look at people and say, you know, despite him doing this, or in spite of him doing this, or her doing this, you know, they still did this. They were still a great person. They still, you know, did these kind of things. So, you know, this tainting of his, you know, reputation and his career
It's unfortunate.
is very unfortunate. And I don't think it should be a thing to where we can remove Bill Cosby from this thing as a person to look up to. It's still not going to change the fact that he pioneered a lot of things for Black people, a lot of shows, what the show meant for the, you know, the African American culture.
Yeah,
It's
different world, man.
I mean,
Made
all
me
of
want to
that.
go to college.
I'm saying, so all of that, it still doesn't change any of that stuff too. So, I mean, my thing is, like I said, I always like to keep it in balance and say that, you know, let's talk about the positive stuff along with the negative stuff at the same time. And like I said, if he's guilty to the full extent of the law. Whatever's decided about him, that's what he get. And none of us can, you know, say, you know, that's what you get. Well, we're gonna say it anyway, but I mean, we're already saying it. You know, he needs to die and burn in hell.
Didn't say that.
They crucifying him. They crucifying him. So.
But they, who are they? And forgive them, for they know
Us.
not what they do.
They.
Us is
Us is them.
I have no part of them.
Oh, you not them?
I'm
You not
them.
us?
I'm not one of them.
But are you us?
All right, thank you for having me on your show, gentlemen. It's been wonderful.
So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for checking out our show today. Again, we're happy to bring this type of content to you. We just want to sit and talk, have intelligent conversations about a lot of the issues that's going on with our nation, in our cultures, everything like that, with the hopes of bettering us and looking at everything from an objective perspective to better us as a society. So I want to thank again Miss Katrina Reese, Miss Blessed Empress, for having her on the show today. Y'all give her a hand. She's so beautiful.
I am.
I mean, you all right.
Shut up.
But I mean, all right, but again, I'm Terrence Fisher. This is Edwin Brown, and you've been watching our show. Stay tuned for our next show. We will keep you posted. Post your comments under this video. Let us know what you think about all the subjects that we talk about. And until then, we'll see you guys in the next video.
Peace.
Peace.